What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle. And man, I'm pretty excited about this interview today. Mutual friend of ours, Mr. Vincenzo, or AKA Static, got us connected. And it's always good talking with a fellow veteran, especially one that's getting out there trying to help our brothers out. So without further ado, Mr. Mike Doody, the CEO and founder of the Ultimate Sacrifice Foundation. Did I get that all right, Mike?
You did. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. It's an
Awesome.
honor to be here.
Yeah, no, man,
But
it's an honor to talk to you. Like I said, Static showed the video of you on Fox News, and it really, I mean, you spoke from the heart. You didn't let them guide you into a narrative or a script, and you kept it real, and I loved it, man.
thank you.
But
Thank you.
I've been wanting to connect with you and talk with you, but usually when I have somebody on for the first time, I get a little bit of a background. So,
Sure.
originally, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I think a very small part of me always knew that I was going to migrate into some type of military capacity, not necessarily the Army. I actually looked at the Marines first, which is kind of funny. And then I just dabbled, and picked the Army. But, you know, honestly, growing up, I had a vision also, just like a lot of kids. I wanted to be a pro baseball player. And, I dabbled a little bit, and then I played a bit in college before I went in. It obviously wasn't my true passion. I was extremely burned out at that point. As I was saying on Fox, I joined after my sophomore year in college, and honestly, I do think that a very small part of me always knew that I was going to shift in that direction. I just didn't really see the path or the correct path to take, or the cookie cutter path. My path was definitely off the beaten way, but I made it there. And I honestly, I look back and I wouldn't change a single thing that happened. I think it molded, as it with so many veterans who choose to serve and join. I think it molded me into kind of person I am today and the vision that I have today.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I got kind of a funny story where I was supposed to go into the Marines originally, and then ended up in the Navy. But that's a whole nother episode. Um, but so then, like, when did you feel that you knew you wanted to go serve your country? When did that happen?
So I would say 9/11 changed the ballgame. Like I was saying, I mean, it's too. I grew up in Ridgewood, New Jersey, so it's about 18 miles outside of the center of Manhattan, and we have this place called the Crest. It's in the Heights in Ridgewood. Very prestigious historic place in Ridgewood, New Jersey, but it overlooks the city, and so you can see the entire skyline of New York City from there. And every word of it is true, man. That's where we witnessed the second plane, the second tower fall. And I knew that, it's cliche, but just like I was saying on Fox, I knew that, our nation's call had to be answered, and who's going to do it. And we're lucky enough, and like I said, we're damn lucky to have the people that serve to the left and right of me. They're savages, they're warriors. The professionalism, the lethality, the tactical prowess. I've never seen anything like it. And it taught me so much about who I am and who I want to be. But also, I do remember September 12th, man, and I remember everyone banding together and coming together, and then we lost that. And I think a lot of the times, as veterans and combat veterans, like what we're doing now, is we yearn for that. We're communal creatures just by nature, and I really just would love for the foundation that we're starting up now to explode, and for everyone, for all of us. This foundation I started for all of us. I might be the founder, but it's irrelevant. I mean, I'm just the guy who started the company, and I really want all us combat vets and veterans in general, Gold Star families, to finally find our purpose and find our means and just excel in
Yeah,
avenues in life. So,
yeah, and I
so
want to get more into that and stuff. But I like to get usually when I have veterans on too, I like to get some of their stories
yeah,
and stuff about
sure, I
their
got
time.
you.
So, like, what is some of the oddest things that you witnessed or experienced while serving?
You really want to know? So Listen, for everyone watching, if this is the easiest way to put it, is my first year in 173rd. If anyone's ever watched documentaries or Restrepo or the Korengal, you'll kind of understand who the 173rd is, where we come from. We had 3 Medal of Honor recipients from that deployment. I started with the 173rd, okay? And the oddest thing, I don't know if it was with them or with 10th Mountain, but the oddest thing, or kind of most grotesque, I mean, listen, man, I've picked heads up and brains have fallen out of my hand. I've seen dudes blow up meters in front of me, and their body parts are going everywhere, and I used to pick them up and put them in trash bags. I've seen the Taliban chop heads off the village elders and leave them on stakes outside of a cop. There's so much crap, man. That's all odd, though. That's not a natural human process. The neuron doesn't fire off in your brain saying, we want to do that crazy stuff today. So I would say that those 3 are probably the oddest. Man, in Afghanistan, Man Love Thursdays was odd, where it seemed to be legal across the country. I don't know. I mean, not that it's not legal everywhere else, but Afghanistan is a very special place.
Yeah.
You know, but I've seen people get hung, thrown off buildings for, you know, sleeping with men on any other day. It's disgusting, man. A lot of grotesque and odd stuff.
And then, like, I mean, you kind of mentioned it, but like, without breaking OPSEC, what would you say was the worst place you ever served at?
Worst place ever. It depends what you're talking about. Are we talking firefights, mortars? Are we talking just savagery, people getting killed? Are we talking HVT missions? I mean, I would say the worst places are the valleys in totality. Once you go into the valley, into any valley, it could be the Korengal, it could be the Ptsd, it could be it is a completely different ball game. If you've never experienced an uncontrolled situation, because everything's controlled. Think about it this way. Me and you were walking down the street. We get into an argument with a couple other guys. We're fighting on a street corner in New York City or wherever. The cops are going to eventually break it up, or someone's going to break it up. That's very controlled. You know there's going to be an ending to it. When you step into Afghanistan total, but especially the valleys, into an uncontrolled situation where it is literally you or them, and there's no one that's going to come save you. And, CAS, which is close air support, or air weapons teams, or mortars. Mortars maybe, but CAS and air weapons teams, they could take hours to get there. You just don't know where they're allotted or who's got them at the time. You really are canalized, and you have the dudes or the women to the left and to the right of you. I would say that is the valleys in total are the scariest and most dangerous friggin' places. Imagine, man.
Yeah.
It's a different ballgame. It shows you who you are.
And then what would you say is like the best place you ever served?
Conus or Oconus? Like, so deployed or back?
Yeah, well, I mean, wherever you felt like you had the best quality of life and time and memories, positive ones.
I would say, man, I loved the 173rd molded me. God, that unit is unstoppable. Best unit in the Army. There's no questions asked. It's like a recruiting factory now. It's so hard to get there. But 10th Mountain was incredible too. I would say the Scout platoon was the best time when I took over an infantry scout sniper platoon. I didn't take over to begin with, but when I moved down there in general, and I was first in charge of a recon team, and we were basically hand selecting dudes. You're kind of like a detachment to an infantry battalion. You're in headquarters. You work directly for the commander, battalion commander, and the sergeant major. I would say that was the most fun, best time I have ever had in the military. Hands down, I had the best dudes. I mean, just think about it this way. Think about putting all alpha mentalities with top level professionalism, but also all your brothers, everyone from private all the way up to, E6, E7 and platoon leader, like all of us. We're all brothers. You actually look out for each other, and you get pretty much pick your poison when you walk into an arms room. I can't think of a cooler, more fitting outlook and mentality for an infantryman than that. That was the best time I ever had in the military.
Nice. And then, like, what pet peeve do you have with like civilians today since transitioning out of the military?
Pet peeve, I think I'm going to be brutally honest. A lot of the pet peeves will be my own shortfalls or pitfalls or things I don't like about myself, like being soft. Like really just, the sticks and stones BS, but people are just incredibly soft. And it's not just the generation. I'm not speaking about that. I'm just saying in general, parenting's got soft. Even me, like I see my mentality, and this is where I'm getting at it, so people don't try to jump down my throat from that comment, but I see myself doing that. Like you just fall into the leisures and the luxuries and the amenities of life, and you get very materialistic, and you forget what is out there lurking, so to speak, or you forget what really should be valued in life. I think that's my biggest pet peeve, the highlight reel on Instagram and Facebook. No, I'm serious. And it's an alternate universe. It's virtual reality. It's I want to do a documentary.
For a second, so. Sorry, you froze up for a second. That's why I said "uh-oh" or whatever. Are you on your phone or
is that what iPad? iPad.
Oh, okay. Is it plugged in too?
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I could still hear you. Just want to make sure. I did an interview with somebody and they didn't have it plugged in, then it died halfway through. So
no, plugged in. That's like what I made sure. I was like, oh, I gotta get the charger. I ran up and grabbed it. I like it because it's a bigger screen. I can see you. But with that said, I don't want to lose train of thought. Where were we?
We're talking about the pet peeves that you have, like in people being
the highlight
soft. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to do a documentary where people follow me around for 24 hours a day, and for that 30 seconds that you post and you look all bright and cheery, let's do the other 23 hours and whatever minutes and seconds added on, because it's not. I mean, that's not life, and I think there's huge advantages to it, i.e., we stay connected, but there's also extreme disadvantages to it, and I think statistics would be on my side.
Yeah, no, I get that with the social media and stuff, man. It's like everybody just puts out I try and tell my daughters, it's like, look, everybody, that's not their life 24/7. They're just posting their best moments. So don't be like envious and thinking, all that stuff,
Well, dude, you get caught up in like these people are always on these Bohemian or Aruban vacations, and you're like, oh my God, why can't I do that? It's like, dude, this is like probably one time in their life, or maybe a couple times, and that's the only thing they post, and that's what you see. People need to stay grounded and need to realize that it's just a highlight reel.
Yeah, and I'm just as guilty, man. I'll be getting resentments and whatever, looking at everybody else's life too. It's just it's better just to put that thing down and go out and live my own.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I agree 100%.
And then what is something that you will always carry with you from your time serving?
That's a great question. Awesome question, man. I have this little picture of, so my first deployment, I lost one of my best friends to just a fucking tragic way, but I lost one of my best friends, and I carry basically a picture that I keep printing out when it gets crumbly, just on a piece of paper of him, his gravesite. Just, I think it just reminds me of, or not reminds me, but I can look at it. And I remember running like the New York City Marathon when I was getting ready to get out of the military, and I carried it with me. I think things like that would just bring you back to your purpose and the reason why you're doing things. And I never want to forget that. And I always want people to hold me accountable, especially with this foundation. There's so much corruption with a lot of these foundations, and I never want to go down that rabbit hole. I always want the mission to be at the forefront of our mind. It's never about me. It's never about you. It's never about any individual. It's a collective, and we always have to remember that.
Yeah, I agree. And then one of the funniest stories that you feel you can share from your time of service.
Oh Jesus. Honestly, I don't know if I could dumb it down to a PG level.
That's all right. It's an
I,
adult program.
I'm telling you, think about a college frat house, but filled with Olympic athletes, alpha mentality. It's savagery and mayhem 24/7. But when you need to get down to business, you get down to business. We used to do these gag gifts. I'm just gonna say it. We used to do these gag gifts. This is like the most PG story I can tell you, and it's probably this bad. And this scout dude, so we all sit in like a leadership circle, and like all the platoon sergeant leaders and our squad leaders were in there, team leaders, and we sit in the circle. And during Christmas time, it's one year everyone was getting ready to go home for block leave, and one of my snipers gets a blow up Justin Bieber doll with a 9-inch you know what. so, so we blow Mr. Bieber up, and we noosed his neck and chucked him around the rafters in our coffs. So we have these big things we call coffs. It's basically just a big hanger, and that's where you work. You have offices and a gym and all that crap. And we hung him before we went out. And our intention, huge dong off of this blow up doll, and he's hanging from the top of the ceiling. And our intention was that everyone would come back and see it. Stupid infantry crap. But our new commander at the time, which I will not name, he's a super cool dude, walks in right before we leave and sees this thing hung. It was the funniest thing. Anyone who's been in the military and like knows like the difference between like commanders and all that crap and like, how you want to act professional and all that shit. Like he just knew right then and there, like these dudes are savages. And we just left it there, man. I think someone eventually took it down like halfway through leave, but it was funny as hell.
So he was hung and hung.
He was hung and hung. Big time. That is a PG version of a story I can tell you.
And then have you had now since being out, have you dealt with the VA and stuff like that?
Sure, okay, yeah.
Some of the not everybody that I talk to deals with the VA or signs up. They hear the horror stories and whatnot. But right. What would you say was like one of your worst experiences at the VA?
Oh my God, getting my ID card. Ridiculous. Took forever. Other than that, I mean, honestly, like I try to go as little as possible. I have now it's like more like quarterly psych visits. They're that I just meet with the psychiatrist and how you doing? Good, how you doing? Yada yada yada. But other than that, I try not to be up there that much. So I don't really have too many horror stories. I will say that Montrose is pretty good. The New York VA, believe it or not, it's okay. You hear horror stories from like Chicago, Arizona area. Those two are like notorious for that. I don't know why, but it is what it is. I think it's getting a little better. And I think the VA now has, the telehealth option and all the virtual options. So it's not as bad as it used to be. But the system gets clogged. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. You have a lot of people who cry wolf, essentially. And I'm not saying that, it doesn't apply to a lot of people. But when I walk in a room and I see, 6 veterans who, have jobs that really don't tailor to the stories they're portraying, I guess. Now, with that said, I think it is close to 80% of the troops that were in Afghanistan and Iraq. And so basically, this modern day war have seen combat in one way, shape, or form. So that's more than any other time in the history of the United States, because that includes, mortars, rockets, IEDs, firefights, so on and so forth. So I will say that I do believe that this generation is going through things that really the times can't keep up with, so to speak. So the system's a little clogged in that way. I will say that a lot of people try to play the system, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's clogged
I see
that way as well.
No,
But
I
yeah, I
see that
mean,
as well. But
well,
I remember, like, I mean, my dad was a World War II Marine. He was on the invasion of Okinawa, and he never talked about a lot of that. And he never went,
sure.
I mean, but I remember him volunteering and helping out at the VA, but he was never like seen there. He never went through the process of getting
Yeah,
registered or, it was just like a whole different ball game. And I remember like when I first came off of active duty, I could see why he didn't go. It was such a horrible. This was back in the '90s, but then after I
yeah,
came back after my final deployment and got connected, it's like all the stuff that they provide now compared to his time, it's come a long way for
sure.
sure.
No,
You know,
it has, man. And hopefully it trickles back into some of the your dad's era and Vietnam. I think they're starting to kind of get the help that they deserve as well. But what I really do mean by that is even World War II. You said World War II,
yeah,
yeah, and even in those eras, like people think of the Great War, World War One and all that. Think about the people who were truly in combat. It was the frontline guys. It was the infantry, cav, artillery, like those combat engineers, whatever. If they existed back then, those kind of people were seeing the combat, or people, fighter pilots, and all that. It wasn't really the cooks, the supply sergeants, whatever, chaplain assistants. Like everyone is seeing combat now. Everyone's going on missions. It is 1,000% the truth. It's not just infantry. It's not just
yeah,
cav dudes. And there are more people. I know Seabees, Navy dudes that saw a amount of combat. I have guys who were attached to us, for observers, so on and so forth, who saw immense amount of combat too. And it really is encapsulates the whole military in today's day and age, which was very different and vastly different from back in the day. And also, females are seeing extreme amounts of combat. I know a couple medics who have confirmed killed females who were attached to infantry battalions. Second in the 503rd, one of them, we had a female medic attached to 2503 on our deployment. She had confirmed kill. I mean, the world's never seen anything like this. The world's never really seen the females come up on body bags like we saw Kabul airfield, and it registers different. At least for me, it does. It
yeah.
it
I
really
know.
shows America.
My last deployment, was it was mostly Kuwait and stuff, but I'd go out on TV missions and whatnot. But everybody was saying, "Oh, you were Navy. You must have been on the ship the whole time." I was like, "Man, I was all beach, no ocean. It was all
Yeah,
sand where
not
I was at.
necessarily.
It was different."
Yeah,
So yeah,
sure,
like
sure.
they were calling us the Narmy because we were filling in a lot of spots for the Army so they could send more soldiers, into
That's the thing too.
field and
Like
stuff.
that's what people don't realize. We're running so many missions that, dude, we have SBR, STB, both infantry battalions. Like you name it, everyone had battle space that they were running missions in. Some battle spaces might have been worse, but everyone had battle spaces. We've never seen that. Navy dudes were attached, and ladies, Air Force, Marines, everyone, Coast Guard was
Yeah,
down
I
there
remember
running.
seeing Coast Guard up at
I'm
KMB
telling
and
you,
stuff too. I was like,
100%.
wow.
Honestly, if you need people for missions, because that algorithm gets taxing on top of all the other shit you got to deal with. And if you're on a major fob, like I was on Shank for a long time, if you're on a major fob, 8 other teams, Tower Guard, so on and so forth, Cook Duty, I forget what it's called, KP, whatever it is. KP duty, I think it's called. But you have all kinds of shit you got to do, and you have to allow your soldiers, time to do personal crap and that stuff and mission real stuff. So and then you got to work out and stay
Yeah,
fit to
yeah.
fight and all that crap. It's
I
and
mean,
refit your gear and fit your weapon. Yeah,
it got to the point for me is like, the worst time for me was actually the downtime because that's when you're in your head and it's like I had, my daughters were very young then, so it's like I'm thinking about home and missing them. So it's like I would volunteer to do more stuff, to stay busy,
yeah.
instead of being, stuck in my head and missing my kids and stuff. That was probably the worst for me.
No,
Um,
100%. And go ahead. We can move on.
no, go ahead, finish, and I'll get on to the next question I had for you.
Sure, sure. I'll be brief. Yeah, I mean, think about it this way for anyone who's watching. Go in a room, lock yourself in it for 1 year, and then come out. That's how it is
Yeah.
with most of these stops. Go lock yourself in that room, and every now and then we're gonna send you out with this shitload of weight and gear and hike you up mountains and get into to do cool guy stuff or cool girl stuff, whatever. And then you come back and lock yourself back in there, and then you come out a year later and we'll chit chat.
Yeah, they got a taste of it, I guess, with those lockdowns or whatever, from COVID, but
On a
still it's not the
micro.
same, man, I remember like too, the things in like some of the movies that I always thought were on point, because you can watch a lot of the Hollywood depictions of stuff. You're like, okay, that's just a lot of Hollywood, but it was the little things that I would like that would really hit me, like in the Hurt Locker when he's home and he's going to grocery shop and he can't figure out what cereal he likes. I mean,
Yeah, dude.
that moment there was like, wow, I can totally relate to that, because your whole day and your meals and everything are planned for you for that year.
Kellogg's with berries. That's
Yeah.
like I used to raid the boxes.
But it was just
But
that
yeah, no,
that little instant that I could totally connect with. Like, yeah, okay, I got it. I felt that.
yeah.
And then what is like one of your greatest hopes, for the country that you've been willing to give your life up for?
It's also a great question. You're filled with them. Pack filled. My greatest hope right now is to drive out my purpose and my mission is to bring these veterans and combat veterans and Gold Star police back together and have a foundation that truly embodies the ethos that we were meant to embody. Bring them together, even on the show, the Ultimate Sacrifice show too. It's a new voice, a new vision, a new vet, a new Gold Star family member. It's a new show every single week, but for the foundation, with us running the emergency and disaster financial relief and community events and all-inclusive vacations and live fitness programming is our four major trigger marks that we want to hit on, amongst other things. I really hope that I can at least mend and mold and create something that has been a void in so many of our lives. Like I said, I want everyone to kind of hold us true to that, because I never want to lose that vision. And even if, we fall short of goals sometimes, if we're bringing, X amount of vets and Gold Star family members together, and that helps them emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, so on and so forth, then, that wide goal is, it just gets kind of pushed down the line to be a goal in the future, but at least we hit X, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah. And what I like about, how you've been describing the foundation, and I want to get into that a little bit more, but, you're including the families, and a lot of people don't, they don't realize, I mean, they serve along with us. There's that empty seat at the table and mom's got to wear both hats or whatever while dad's away.
Yeah.
There's, the holidays continue, the birthdays continue, everything goes on, and we're that empty spot. So they're like, and things come up on the news. Oh my gosh, this happened there. Was that my son? Was that my daughter? The fear and everything they got to carry. So, and then, what I always envision and what I always wanted to see, and I don't know if that's something that you guys are thinking about doing too, is like the education and teaching the spouses and families, that, yeah, dad's going to be a little different or mom's going to be a little different. And this is how we can be better understanding and work together as a family, be more educated, that,
Yeah.
how they're coming back. Because it's like I came home and I went through, separation with the mother of my kids. I went through all kinds of depression, and I'm in, I got 12 years, thankfully, now in recovery. But, if that stuff was in place, who knows where things could have went then,
Yeah. No, 100%. And, that's a great idea. Before I get ahead of myself, the Fox thing I was going to start the foundation before Fox. All right. But the Fox thing amplified everything. I mean, and it truly showed me, like to your point, it truly showed me the need for that. with so many of these families. I mean, I had people from all over the world, not just these hundreds of thousands of people from the world contacting me. Gold Star families, vets of other countries, family members of vets from other countries, their friends, their like so on and so forth. It was crazy, and I was like, wow, I can't believe the impact that just made, and how much their voices need to be heard, and how much they're hurting across the board. I really, yeah, I got on there. I didn't want to say I, me. It had nothing to do with that. As we were saying at the beginning of the show, I'm not there to entertain some news channel. And I'm not there to entertain some agenda that they have. And I've turned down other news channels that have reached out because of that. Fox enabled all of us to have a voice and a platform without interruption, and allowed that segment to go on for almost 10 minutes, which doesn't happen. And, you know, hopefully I can do a follow-up, because I really want to amplify a lot of these families and vets, so like yourself included, man, on national news. It's going to be all about that, and I'll just keep spitfiring stuff off, and we'll go from there. But that's how it's going to be. Like I've said, you know, multiple times now, that's how I'm going to be. This vision's always going to stay, and our mission is always going to be the same mission. I don't want to get off kilter. I don't want to get off track.
Yeah. And then, you know, what do you feel we can do to break the stigma out there of PTSD?
Sure. Absolutely. This is funny. Sorry. So crazy, man, because I like get upset, and then I'm like, but they need to know. You know, I'll say this is, I haven't put myself out there yet, really. I've had a bunch of people on the show, doing one tomorrow too, with the colonel from Ranger Battalion, but they've put themselves out there a lot. And a lot of my buddies, and obviously family doesn't know everything, but you know, they've seen me and they've had to live with me, and it hasn't been easy. I mean, I take a heavy burden, like you were saying before, on it's the little things. Like, I take a heavy burden on worrying about someone's kid that lives in Nebraska. I know some kid I'll probably never meet, maybe, who knows? But you know, I know their dad, or I know their brother, or their son, their daughter, or their sister, their mother, so on and so forth, that perished, and that really, really affects me. It's never firefights and mortars and all that crap. I don't care about that, man. I was on a mission to be the most lethal motherfucker in that place, so that's kind of where my head was. But I don't want to get off topic. What was the original question? Because that was kind of leading into it. I'm kind of getting
like, what do you feel like we can do to break the stigma of PTSD?
The stigma. So, you know, I spoke with this lady last week, actually, lucky enough, and I didn't anticipate this conversation to go on for over an hour, but it did. And she really broke down PTSD, and she actually wrote a whole little spiel on it. It's like a short story, a big packet, which is brilliant. And it really educated me on PTSD. And I'm not going to sit here and quote from that, but what I will say is there definitely needs to be the stigma in mental illness. PTSD is not a mental illness, it's a brain injury, and it kind of comes and goes in its ways. Very, very different, vastly different from a mental illness. So we need to break that right the F away. That needs to go away. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, have you?
What about PTSD? Well, they like to. I'm sorry, I didn't hear. What'd you say?
That it's not a mental illness; it's a brain injury.
Yeah, like TBI and stuff, but
right. In some capacities, obviously different, but yeah, I do think that the re-education needs to happen, but it's also that needs to be a complete culture change, which is something, and between our community too, and people need to be comfortable to speak about it, because that's like the number one thing. When I have soldiers that looked up to me, that was like, listen, when you are a team leader, platoon sergeant, so on and so forth, and you are physically, mentally, tactically, technically a beast, so to speak, people look up to you. People need that mentorship. They look at their leaders as indestructible beings, just like I used to when I was coming up through the ranks. And for them to watch a show like this, or watch the Ultimate Sacrifice show, or whatever show, and see their own leaders, and I'm sure you can relate to this, bring out their vulnerabilities and speak honestly about real life shit that's going on. I think that is going to help them more than anything on surface level. And then when you get down to the nuts and bolts of everything and the meat and potatoes, I do think that these packets, like what I received, are eye-opening, and were eye-opening for me. And I think that we need to start amplifying that into our culture, our vet culture, our Gold Star family culture. I think that will help change it. That could be step one.
I know for me, like, when I was going through my therapy and everything, when I first came home and working through my trauma, the toughest thing was I was setting up my own roadblocks, because I didn't, I had to keep that armor up. I'm a guy, I'm a dad, I'm this, I'm that, and I can't show weakness. I can't show, I can't let, men can't cry and stuff like that. It wasn't until finally I felt comfortable and I said, screw it, that I was vulnerable and willing to be vulnerable in front of other men. Luckily it happened for me, like in recovery rooms and stuff, going to AA and stuff like that. But also, I've been through hypnotherapy and all kinds of other different modalities out there where it's just like I was in a place where I could get to the roots of my issue and I could cry and I could let it out, and that's when I noticed the majority of my healing and the turnaround happened for me. And we got to provide those places for our brothers and sisters,
No, I agree. That was the very said, and we do, and that is a big mission, and it should be a mission for all of us. I really hope that I can allow a big platform for people to finally come out and be like, listen, it's okay, like we got you, we love you guys and girls.
Yeah. And then I know what you had to say on when you were on Fox, but just for my audience here that consists of some troops that had served in Afghanistan and what they're dealing with because of that, how everything ended there. What do you have to say to them right now?
Yeah, because again, I didn't want to waste time going off on. I had a list of war crimes that were committed, and one of them is negotiating with a terrorist organization. Another one, we left $85 million worth of our munitions in Afghanistan, which included just a barrage of shit. And now we're watching the world's worst terrorist organizations, who, like I said on the news, aren't a bunch of humans. They're the demons, literally, walking around with our equipment that we used on them. I just cannot imagine what the future holds for that. And the new terrorist organizations that are going to form, not just ISIS-K, Hezbollah, Hamas, all that crap, and Al-Qaeda. It's not just them and the Taliban, obviously. There's going to be a lot more that kind of morph and change and twist. That was the whole outlook and the whole reason why occupying Afghanistan kind of allowed us to evade that mass plan or that mass terrorist attack that they attempt and are going to attempt. Believe me, they're going to attempt it. Unfortunately, but that's who they are. They're the most vile human beings on this planet. I feel, dude, when I got on that show, I had to start, and I had to say I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the 13 service members that were killed and the 18 that were critically wounded. That fucking tore me apart, man. It's when I say that I was up for 4 or 5 days, I don't think I fucking slept. I literally was. I mean, dude, it's just the mindset. It's mindset of giving so much and just knowing the dominance of the U.S. military and the fucking excellence of the U.S. military. I'm going to put it this way: that there's, for anyone who thinks that the Taliban is a joke or some of these other organizations are jokes, You know, we went up against Chechen, Syrian snipers, and all those people. They've been fighting for thousands of years. They're not a fucking joke. What's even more impressive is that we can have, look at the Battle of Not, look at Cop Keating. We can have platoon or platoon plus-ish elements that fend off hundreds or thousands of Taliban terrorists or fighters, militia fighters. And that's fucking impressive, man. That's impressive. They're in little bowls. I mean, they were not. They were thrown out there. That was our chosen company. And they were thrown out there. Which, platoon minus of those dudes and fended off fucking warriors. I mean, you don't see that. To my point, and what I'm trying to get at is this is the best military in the world, and it's not even a question. There's not a single military that wants to go toe-to-toe with the United States. They absolutely do not. And you can ping-pong back and forth with anyone. There's a reason why everyone wants to come to our schools. We have all different militaries going to our Ranger School, our Airborne, our ARSLIC, you know, Marine Recon, SOCOM Cyber Force, you name it. There's a reason why all these countries want to come and train in the United States. It's because we are the baddest motherfuckers that have ever existed, period. So to really answer that question, man, because I'm not going to say that those types of brash words on national news, but I felt literally all the pain of the veterans in the United States. It might sound ridiculous. I fucking took it on, man. And I was like, it was like everyone was speaking through me. And I felt so bad for these families. Because you always see it, and I know statistically there's just more of them. It's just how it's set up. But it really fucking bothers me that it's always these young privates. It's always these young specialists or sergeants or, you know, so on and so forth. Or even like lieutenants are put out there a lot. It's always them that go. And it fucking bothers me, man. It really does. That could have been any one of my soldiers out there. And we can't put them to fault. We have no idea what was going on the ground. I have an idea. I had some guys on the ground, but I was there. You know, I was there in that situation. Sometimes you're canalized to the orders unless they're unlawful. And you don't know what's going to happen. That shit happens all the time in Afghanistan. You know, I will say that it was a disgusting display of negligence from top military brass, disgusting display of negligence from the President of the United States and everyone around him and his cabinet. This has never happened. Never happened in the history. Bush, Obama, Trump, never happened. They never pulled this shit. It showed an extreme sign of weakness. We can't let the world's greatest military to an airfield. You know, right when that happened, and first of all, to give a Bagram, we have an immense amount of technology for Bagram that was insipid and foolish, ridiculous, which is going to cost us greatly when we have to go back into Afghanistan. Mark my words. But we should have taken the city of Kabul back. We should have told the Taliban, negotiating with the Taliban. I don't think this is ever going to be forgiven. Negotiating with a terrorist organization who fucking slaughter. All of our families will rape our wives and children. They're taking sex slaves. It's 12 years old. You have to put an X on your door in Afghanistan. The same terrorist organization, people's fucking heads off and throws them off buildings. And, you know, look what happened in Libya, too. No one ever brings this up. Cut one of our ambassadors' balls off and drag him around by a quad in streets of Libya. These people don't fuck around. And I don't know what it's going to take to portray that to the American people, but I don't think people are taking the Taliban seriously. Remember, 99% of Afghanistan, civilians, Afghanistan voted in favor of Sharia law. If no one knows what Sharia law is, 99%. If no one knows what Sharia law is, you look it up. Look it up.
Yeah.
See what their culture embodies, see their ethos, see their commandments in Sharia law. Because I got a bunch of Muslim friends, bunch. And I'll tell you what, none of them would put up with that shit. None of them. That's insane. And a lot of them fought alongside of me. You know, I feel your pain. I feel everyone's pain. Trust me. I am going to do the best I can to illuminate that. through me for all of you, because you deserve that and so much more. And if I got to be the martyr for that, then so fucking be it. I'll do it.
Gotcha. And then now, right before we get into talking more about, starting up the foundation and stuff, as I was trying to do a little bit more homework, and I talked to you about it last night, I seen that you did you were working as a strength and conditioning coach for a while. When did that come to be, and how long you been involved with that?
So that's a good question too. When you get out of the military, you do something called SFL TAP. It's like a transition. I don't know if they had that in the Navy. I think it was kind of, the Navy's got something different. It's Soldier for Life Transition System Program, but the Army has, and I know each branch.
Yeah, I think ours was like TAPS or something.
Yeah, they all have it, and I'm sure it's gotten better and better as it went on. But they really amplify going back to college. Like, listen, I went to business school to get my MBA when I got out, but I had a bachelor's and all that. So the real thing it helped me with is resume writing, and just kind of learning that, and the process of interviews, because coming from the military, they're not going to understand your jargon and all that. But long story short, I was fortunate enough to go to the brand new Master Fitness course that the military embodied after a lot of the strength and conditioning aspects of what our athletes are doing, professional athletes are doing, and starting to look at the military as professional athletes, because they are in every capacity. Just strength, endurance, stamina, power, speed, force, so on and so forth. You really need it all. And you take a brunt. Your body takes a brunt. So you got to know how to do that and cover, and just be sound with everything. So I was fortunate enough to do that. I have an undergrad in exercise science. I just started doing the strength conditioning programs for the whole battalion. So anywhere from 800 to 1,200 people, and started doing reconditioning programs and rehab programs and seminars, exercise science seminars, and it just started to become part of me, and I started to really like it, and I had a passion for it. And then when I got out, I shot my resume out to a lot of different S&T joints or personal training joints, and I was fortunate enough to find one in Rye, New York, and start working there, amongst other things I did when I got out too. But then I finally stayed and had solid ground there, and then the owner of the facility that I'm working at kind of offered me to come on a partner, and then shortly after that we opened up another facility together, which was Trinity Fitness and Nutrition. And it's been a fun ride, and I've met some phenomenal people. And Rye's a beautiful town, if no one knows that. It's in Westchester County, which is an amazing county in New York. But I met great people and great friends for life, and it kind of amplified from there. And I did a ton of certifications after that, and now here we are with the foundation, which I never planned any of it, to be honest with you. It's something that popped up probably like a week before the Fox bookers even reached out to me. So it was something that was on the radar. I kind of saw it coming, but that, like I said, just amplified it. But yeah, that's how I got into it.
Yeah, I know. I noticed too. Like, there's so many like great veteran programs out there and organizations to help the veteran community, but it seems like a lot of these come to be because of, unfortunately, a lack of, through the VA and whatnot. It's like a lot of the healing modalities that we need aren't necessarily covered by, the VA and big medical and all that stuff. So it's like everybody, we like always, even when we're on active duty, we always took care of each other. And even afterwards, now it's like you guys are stepping up and starting foundations because we know what we need and we're not getting it where we would think. The places that broke us aren't fixing us, and we got to get together and know how to fix ourselves, And
yeah,
I'm glad.
Absolutely.
So like what originally was your vision when you were putting this together, that kind of was just like, what, I got to make this a reality?
The initial vision did involve some of the events that were actually going to fall into. I think the original vision was, the community events would be like, going to Giant Stadium and walking around like Wounded Warriors, advertising and, going out with donation yards. It's like, that's a small scale like community. That's not what I'm talking about. That's just you doing fundraising or you doing marketing or advertising, whatever. I'll get into the community events I'm talking about, but also the retreats. Like at first, I saw a need for veterans to get back together, so I said, okay, how can we do that and goals our families? I said, well, we can easily do that with like retreats, just like they'd set up in the military, but obviously ran very differently with things that would stimulate us, things that are fun for us, we want to do with a bunch of awesome people that we can relate to. And the live fitness programming. So I said, all right, well, Beachbody runs live fitness programming. It's $9.99 a month. But, they still have to pay for it. And a lot of people kind of fall off the wayside. Like, what if we had people who were reputable in the veteran community who could do the same exact thing but offer it for free? So I said, that's a good idea. We can do that. And I had audio, video guys reach out. Vin reached out immediately too. And I was like, awesome, dude. I love him, man. Like, I'll use you. So he's been helping us with that, and he's going to continue to. He's such a good guy. And his girlfriend's name escapes me right now, but I believe girlfriend.
Yeah.
She's awesome too. They're such nice people, great people. And I'm so honored to really have them on our team. So even if they're honorary members, but with that, I kind of got sidetracked again, man. Put me on a topic.
No, well,
the foundation,
like, you're talking about starting the foundation and like, what's your vision going forward for it?
So that was my vision is how can I get the veterans and Gold Star families together? And so I said, well, I could start the podcast or talk show and reaching out. So that was the initial vision, and then the retreats and the live fitness programming as well. But then I was like, you know what? There's so many veterans who are hurting, and sometimes FEMA or insurance companies or whatever don't cover any of that shit, or sometimes they just need someone to say, hey, here's $5,000 for a new furnace. Let's get you moving, get some pep in your step. Let's give you some direction. So that kind of fell into my mind too. Like, that's a good idea. And obviously we have a grant writing system and some way to vet a lot of the people. But, a lot of people get down and dumps, and that just amplifies it. Oh, I can't afford, new tires. And I just popped one. Like, that's what we're there for. We're kind of to heal that wound. And like you said, I think it's forced into so much that I don't want to get ahead of myself, and I don't want to go like national too quick. But we have people I have a event directors, chief planners in Virginia, Jersey, New York, Indianapolis, Kentucky, and Texas. So that's pretty national. And that's just where these guys are. I'm sure it's going to expand a lot more than that. That's just the event directors of those locations. And I'll get into what we're going to do and what I think is really cool coming up. But with that said, the Fox thing amplified everything. So, yeah, we got to start local. And I know, with fundraising and all that, I don't want to expand too fast because we're just going to spread ourselves too thin with only 8 employees for a startup, and we haven't even officially launched yet, which we'll be doing soon, but that would spread us too thin. So I need to be realistic with that. But everything I kind of encompass is all of our principles and everything we're going to try and hit. Now, can I move on to the events and what we're really doing?
Sure.
Is that cool? Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, everyone's like, oh, we need something to stimulate, something fun. And, there were a lot of ideas getting thrown around. We could go hiking, we go camping. But I was like, what do they really want to do? I said, all right, well, how about we use our abilities to the best advantage? We use what we have around us and we amplify it and help as many people as possible. So I thought, okay, well, we could do sniper training. We could do some cool guy ranger stuff. We could do mountaineering. We could do tactical close quarters, whatever's going to stimulate vets and be like, oh, this is fucking awesome. I can't wait to go. And I thought that among other things would really be it. And I get it, not everyone's into shooting, so that's fine. We'll do the campfires with the big cookouts. After that, we'll all stay, outside in our nice little tents, probably at this point, real tents, not crappy military ones like they used to make us sleep in. And we'll do whatever. We'll go to a cabin, we'll rent it out for the whole week or whatever. And it got me thinking to, okay, well, let's start with some range events. And we are in the process of targeting and planning these ranges in West Virginia, Kentucky, and probably Texas. That'll probably be like 1, 2, 3, and maybe PA, 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's do, like, what I've planned right now is we'll do some type of close quarters combat where you have to enter and clear a room. And we'll figure out how we're going to do that and what rounds we're going to use and all that. Or if that's just going to be like for fun with sim rounds or whatever. But we'll figure that out because we're going to need range safety officers and all that crap and all the tough planning. But I think it would be cool. You're on a 4-man team. Let's say we have, 20, 30 vets. Everyone's on a 4-man team or whatever it equals out to. If you enter and clear a room, you knock down the targets in there, probably do something like small scale, like dress a wound or something, whatever. Move the casualty, and then you have to move tactically as a team up to the firing line. And, the firing line has 100 targets up. Your team of 4 has 30 seconds to knock down as many targets as possible. Go. And, the winning team gets something cool like, an old school rifle or pistol or whatever. That's, a couple grand or something, like something really nice. And then other stuff on top of that from the foundation apparel and whatever. But, or like, gift certificates or whatever, something really nice. And I think that would be awesome. And it gives someone like, oh, I can't wait to go to that race. My team's going to win. And it gives people like that sense of competitiveness again, like, but also brotherhood and sisterhood and all that. And we're also setting up in El Paso, Texas, some pool tournaments. My buddy's starting a pool business and billiards. And that'll probably curtail into darts and all that. And I actually want him to do the mountaineering stuff, rope tying and people climbing and rappelling and get back into that. We have a lot, man, and a lot of stuff that's like real stimulation and will really get you outside and maybe learn some stuff like, if people wanted to learn how to be a sniper, even on a small scale, like the terminology, the math behind it, how to do it, like, now's the time. We have the assets around us. We're going to use the talent that we have around us and set it up that way quickly. Or if people want to do the mountaineering stuff, if people want to learn recon stuff, whatever, we have it. So I really think that it's like going to a mini scout recon school or whatever you want to call it, mixed in one weekend or 1 week and just have fun with it in a very laid back environment with a bunch of awesome people.
Yeah, I've got a couple ideas I want to bounce off you off air and share with you because I've gone to a couple of different retreats and gotten a lot out of each one. So I'll definitely want to talk more and help out however I can with you guys launching this. But speaking of which, like, how can any of the listeners out there get involved and help support the USF?
Absolutely. So, first of all, the website is www.ultimatesacrificefoundation.com or www.t-usf.com. Either one, and my email is mike at either ultimatesacrificefoundation.com or t-usf.com. And we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and all that. Not a ton of content yet. We have our show. Right now, it's all startup funds and grants, and that will change over shortly. I just want to make sure. The reason why we don't have that donate button up yet, just the startup fund button, is because I want to make sure everyone can get their tax exempt write-off or their tax write-off at the end of the year. So that's kind of just why I'm stalling a little bit, just so everything's hunky-dory and we don't screw someone who wants to make a nice donation. And also, that's not the only reason. I mean, also we're getting in all the marketing and promo items right now, and so we can give it out to everyone and apparel and all that stuff. So we have stuff to give, and it takes a while to set up the events and to make sure everyone's schedule kind of lines up and just get all your ducks in a row. It's just like starting a business. A nonprofit is no different. It's the same exact thing essentially. It's just for tax status and behind the scenes stuff. Very little, but it's no different.
Gotcha. And like we're getting close to the end of our time here, Mike, but I wanted to ask you some of the questions I normally ask guests that I have on. What's like your regular like morning ritual or routine to start your day and try and have the best day possible?
So here's the deal. I've been trying to get into that. Like, what can I do? I need to, like, David Goggins this fucking world. But I've been trying to get into that. And I'll tell you what I used to do. I used to wake up extra early. I'll tell you what I do now. But I used to wake up extra early, whether that's 3:30 or however early that may be. And I would bust out 5-mile run. I bust out, a 30-mile bike, or I'd bust out lifting for an hour. And that is your time alone, and you need that. And that will get your mind right for the day, because a lot of the issues that go on in the world are all because of your mind. And if you don't get it right before the day, just like if you don't get it right before you do anything, it's going to be a very hard time for you. And it's not going to, things aren't going to sit right, morph right. So right now, my routine's thrown off because I work so early, man. Like, my first client's at 4:45 in the morning. So my routine is always to get up. I chug water with my aminos or my pre-workout, which is my coffee. And I try to take in 24 to 32 ounces of fluids right there. Just so I'm awake and alive, because, water cures everything, evidently, in the military. but no, I mean, listen, we're comprised of mostly water anyway, so we need to fill our body with it. And you'd be really surprised at how many things start working right in the body when you do so. And then I go in and I have an awesome client set. So my routine is literally that. Like, they're all my friends just as much as they're all my clients now. So it really doesn't bother me to go in that early. With that said, I would love to get back into a routine where I say, listen, you gotta have some kind of physicality in life, and you have to harden yourself a little bit in life and challenge yourself. So I do want to get up extra early and start that routine I used to have again, even before I had these early and long days, essentially.
Gotcha. And then, who are 3 people who've inspired you, or you can credit for making you the person you are today?
That's an awesome question. I would say number one is Buddy Vinny Atkinson, who I lost on our first deployment. He was more than a mentor. It's funny, like, I remember showing up in my unit, and I was a private and he was a sergeant. He was the only guy, or the only NCO at the time, who was like, hey, man, what's up? Where are you from? Go out. I'm like, okay, Roger. And then he's like, no, dude, you're my boy. Like, and we just clicked it. We clicked off and immediately. And we would lift, we would do MMA and jiu-jitsu and on and mess around all the time together. And he was like a rock. He's one of those dudes you thought was indestructible, and he always would just give you solid advice. I remember we were walking down this path on patrol, and he was just giving me advice the whole time. I was like, I love this dude. So I would say he's number one. I'd say number two is actually one of my baseball coaches growing up. And I think that was the time I really started feeling the burnout before I even got to college. And he really gave me some hard to hear advice, but advice that I really needed at the time. And no one was giving it to me. And just let's get into reality type of advice. But I won't mention their names just because I respect, their privacy and all that. And number three, it's so hard to just narrow it down to three. There's so many people I can say. I'm looking at a picture of my Uncle Mike, who he unfortunately passed away a little while ago, but he's a Vietnam vet too. It would be so easy to say him. I mean, obviously, I would say, I got a good one. I would say number three is the first chaplain I ever had, who would come out on a crap ton of patrols. He was a badass dude. He was awesome. But I would honestly say that he kind of opened my eyes to a different way of life as well. And he went through a lot. And he taught me so much about just like his sermons, his talks, everything. When I would chat with him, he taught me so much about what's important in life. And the man that I want to become, and really helped me. I saw as much of a care in him as I've ever seen in anyone, and you don't see that a lot. You don't see, like, captains or majors or high-ranking NCOs, they care, but you don't see them go above and beyond. And I saw him go above and beyond nonstop. And I know it took a toll on him. And I really know it did. And I know what a lot of people went through. But he was one of the guys you could look at and be like, man, if I was a quarter like him, I'm doing something right in life.
Yeah.
So I would say those three are. There's so many others like him, but those three are at the top of the list.
Nice.
Just for life lessons and advice. Yeah.
Yeah. And then favorite toy as a child.
Favorite what as a child?
Toy. Favorite toy
Nintendo.
as a child.
Nintendo. But dude, I was also like a kid who went out and I would do every sport imaginable and get dirty and ride my bike all over the place and come home for dinner. So like I liked everything, dude. But yeah, Nintendo was awesome when it first came out. Game Boy.
And then any message that you have for our guys that are currently serving overseas, our guys and gals?
Hell yeah. So the message to them, first of all, you guys are our nation's best. There's no one like you. You're the most lethal warfighters on this planet, and never forget that. I had mentors in the military that would tell me that, you have to train better than Olympic athletes and you have to fight better than special operators from every country. I was like, what? And I finally understood what they meant. You have to understand that you are the most lethal warfighter on the planet, and the entire world, not just the United States, relies on all of us. And like I was saying earlier, there's a reason why people want to come to our schools. There's a reason why people want to learn our tactics, because we are the baddest MFers on this planet. And all of you are. And all of you have to realize you're the less than 1% that actually took the plunge to serve, regardless of the reason why you're serving. We all have your back. We love each and every one of you, and we're always going to be here for you. There's always going to be a place in my life, my heart, my home, and the Ultimate Sacrifice Foundation that is going to exist for you now or upon exit when you need it, or for your family. So remember that and never forget that. And whenever you're feeling down and you don't want to do something, you don't see the point in it, just understand how many people rely on you and how much, it's cliche, but how much of a hero you are and how much of a burden you do take on. You carry your load and then some. And we all see it. We all are back. A lot of us have been there. When that time gets hard, you have to dig down deep, and you have to understand that your purpose is so much greater than you can see right now. And I understand it's so hard when you're in, but your purpose is so much more than you can see. And I'm so impressed with each and every one of you. I mean, shit, just use me. I mean, you use me barking in your ear. Like, I expect everything from all of you. You have to be the best at everything, period. You have to be second to none. And always remember that. That is your purpose right now. And never forget that. Never forget that.
Awesome, Mike. Man, I'm glad we were able to do this. Thanks so much for your time. It was good to see you kind of face to face somewhat in this virtual world right now. But I'm glad, we will be talking more because, like I said, I want to bounce some ideas off you and help out however I can. But one final favor I need to ask you before I let you go. Would you mind cutting a promo ID for the show? And that's basically, what I do with veterans is I like them to introduce themselves by the last rank they held. And then, introduce yourself at your last rank and say, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
All right. This is Staff Sergeant Mike Doody, Infantry Scout Sniper Platoon Sergeant, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
All right, let's do that one more time.
Yeah, I know, because I said So this is Staff Sergeant Mike Doody, Infantry Scout Sniper Platoon Sergeant, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
Awesome. You nailed it. Hey, Mike,
Always
it
a
was
two
great
shot.
doing this with you, man.
Likewise, dude. Love you, man. I
And
appreciate it.
yeah, no problem. And we'll be in touch. All right.
Awesome. Later, buddy.
All right. Take care.